we had a little bit of news, I just want to see if you have a little thought, maybe just a little Rorschach test on this. Bill Belichick, now hired as the head coach of North Carolina. Any thoughts? I'm just curious what you think about this, Charles.
The first thought I had about Bill Belichick was the famous Twitter thread from the guy named Solomon that starts off, when you get out here, you're not going to want to be out here, okay? Because
you think you want to be out here.
You think you want to be out here, but you don't want to be out here. You know, one of the funniest moments of last year's college football season was watching James Madison University go to Chapel Hill on the road and score 53 points in the first half of a 70-50 win over the Tar Heels. UNC has the worst ranked recruiting class in the ACC. They're 81st nationally, according to On 3 or 1, however you pronounce it.
What was Mac doing?
Mac was getting ready to get fired, you know? because after the JMU game, they were like, no, Mac, you can't come back. And then they were like, maybe you can finish the season. And then, everyone's kind of in flux like that. So they have 9 commits. 8 of them are signed. One of them is unsigned, which is a 4-star quarterback. So you're really going to need that. So I guess between now and the end of April, let's call it, Bill has to get 30 guys to come commit to UNC. And then what I want to see is, this is obviously, we've talked about it a bunch. Anyone who covers the draft knows these offenses are not as sophisticated as what you see on Sunday. So the first time that Bill plays like Clemson, and they have 4 passing plays, but they have 4 stars and 5 stars compared to your 3 stars. I just want to see how bad he loses it. Because, you can call all the pattern matching and we've got all our bases covered, and some guy who runs a 10-4 in the 100-meter dash going to run right past your safety for a touchdown, and it doesn't matter at all. So, Bill, I really just want to know how he's going to cope with all that, because they're going to do a whole lot of losing this year, I would imagine.
It's a thought experiment. It's just all right, they're obviously going to have some schematic advantages, especially on defense, but then also playing an Art Briles offense, or the Wake Forest long RPOs and the unbalanced formations that happens in college they are anti-football. If you're asking me, they shouldn't be allowed, but they are legal in college. That is going to be interesting. That's really, it's just a curiosity for me. It's been pretty funny to watch him, Belichick, and how all the stories that came out today, and saying oh no, this is an FU to the NFL from Belichick and his group. And it's F you. You mean you didn't get any calls? You really think he's jumping back to college by choice? That was his first take on it. I don't know. But no, I'm really just curious. I think it's just that college football is just such a wild place right now, that what these teams are trying to do to make themselves unique, interesting, or good. This is one of them. You have Deion to Colorado. You see a bunch of kind of coaches there, coordinators right now. Dirk Cutter's the offense coordinator for the Boise State, and is doing well there, actually. Just give it to Genty and we're good. But Belichick, North Carolina, with his group. Mike Lombardi's already GM, already out there doing his thing. So this is going to be a interesting little path here. But I was curious if I was starting to look at the teams that Belichick could maybe end up with in the NFL. And the Jags felt like the easiest one to me, or the one I can make the easiest argument for, because it was Shad Khan being kind of not knowing anything, but going hey, these people tell me Belichick's pretty good. Maybe we should hire him. But it kind of seemed maybe the doors, maybe not as many seats as he thought were available. So interesting thing in football.
He only had 1 interview last year. So the fact that he wouldn't get any after not coaching for a year is not that surprising. And
that was used as a way to find the rat in the building too, whoever leaked that news. And then then we saw some team or some team members of the Falcons, all of a sudden their positions changed after the news got leaked, which told me a lot about what happened there. So that's actually a pretty good one. But enough Belichick. He's in. Well, we'll talk about college down the road. We got the playoffs coming up, but let's get into Week 15. A really fun slate of games. That's why there's even 5-1 things. We're going full on deep dives for these games. So let's start with our first deep dive.
Okay.
It just keeps going. U571 there. Yeah. U301 here on this show. Yeah, we got a bunch of U-boats here. But yeah, we're going to start.
I was about to say something terrible about the tragic accident that happened last summer in the submarine. But I didn't say it. So.
No, these teams actually, both of these teams actually use the proper equipment and go through the actual, like what your actual licensing and everything you're supposed to do when you try to dive to see the Titanic. But anyways, we got the Bills and the Lions.
Let's say bring Penei Sewell with you when you're trying to dive. That's what the Lions are doing.
They're just sink. At the Lions are 2.5-point favorites. So, that's kind of pretty close here. Lions pulled off some tough wins, especially with 40 guys on injured reserve last week, which is pretty fun to actually watch them battle it out. And actually, you don't really feel it, which is saying something for that Lions team. The Bills just coming off a brouhaha against the Rams. Just an absolutely so much fun game. We spent 20 minutes breaking that one down, but really fun one here against two of the best teams in the NFL, even with the Lions facing some injuries, which will be really, really interesting to watch in this game. But we'll start with when the Bills have the ball against this Lions defense. Charles, what are some of the things that you're checking out, some of the things you're focusing on this side of the ball?
This is a really funny matchup, I think, for the Lions defense because, the name of the game with them is we're running man coverage. We're running my coverage. And I thought that it was funny because I was looking at their splits, basically what they run for coverage wise. They're 32nd in zone coverage rate, first in man coverage rate. Coincidentally, they're playing an offense that is used to seeing the exact opposite. The Bills have seen the 32nd, the lowest man coverage rate in the league and the highest zone coverage rate in the league. So this is you're going polar opposites here. Yeah. And it's obvious why teams don't want to play man coverage against Josh Allen because if you turn your back to him, he's just going to run. And he's a guy that can easily run for 100 yards in a game if you would give him the opportunity to do so. So I just want to see really what are the tendency breakers that the Lions will try to use just to save themselves. Because obviously this is a good defense. You don't want to, even as they've gotten banged up, you don't just want to abandon totally what you've gotten here. And you've played 3 months of good defense by playing majority man coverage, blitzing, somewhat kind of keeping it simple and just letting your cornerbacks be good players. But I just find it hard to believe that is a winning plan for this week. And I do think that, if McNeil plays, they kind of have a chance to match up against the run.
He practiced today, so yeah.
Okay, so but it doesn't matter if you're just going to let Josh Allen break your back on scrambles over and over and over again because we know that he's capable of doing the hero ball stuff. He's capable of putting the entire offense on his back and go out and score 30 points. So I think that interaction there and how the Lions decide to call their defense will be really interesting throughout the game.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was looking at too, was it especially last week when, that Bills-Rams game for both sides was all right, are they playing man or zone? The Bills when they played the Texans, which still seemed like one of the wonkiest games of the year. Remember how much Josh Allen kind of struggled against man. They just beat up, I wouldn't say Josh Allen did. I would say that the Texans DBs really snuffed out the Bills receivers in that game and really just stomped them out of the game. And Keon Coleman made a mistake. And in the second half, they came along a little bit. But I kind of came across the same kind of notes. Allen's only taken 1 sack against man coverage this season. He's scrambled 8 times and he averages almost 10 yards a pop on those scrambles. That's why you don't want to play man coverage against Josh Allen. Josh Allen and Lamar are kind of the guys that no one plays man coverage against because they're just screw that. We can play perfect defense. Somebody can get home or get close to getting home and be a free runner and they just run around them, get a first down. I'm curious too. Yeah, so I looked at the kind of the injury report. DJ Reader sat out Wednesday, but practiced on Thursday, which is huge. Levi Onwuzurike had a limited practice. So they had some, Josh Paschal the same limited practice. So, okay, the reinforcements are coming, or at least they're not as depleted as maybe you would think, because they have freaking 18 guys on injured reserve right now. It's insane. I think 18 defensive players had either injured reserve or injury designation going into this week, which is it's an entire team. It's a JV squad. I'm just curious too, is the Bills go heavy because this is a strength on strength thing too for them, is the Bills run that jumbo personnel more than anybody. They are, when they get into 12 and 13, which is two or more tight ends, I should say, or an extra offensive lineman, third in success rate, first in explosive play rate, second in EPA per play, good running, good passing. They do this at a large chunk of their snaps. And Bills have, like I said, have the highest rate of just jumbo, which is 6 offensive linemen. The other quirk of this Lions defense, outside they play a bunch of man, is on early downs, they stay big. They just keep their big boys out there. Even with the injuries, they've been doing the same thing. Well, I looked at the same personnel groupings against this Lions defense just to see how they've been up this whole year. First in EPA per play allowed, first in EPA per drop back, and third in success rate. True strength on strength when these teams want to go big. And I think that's going to be fun because they both want to do it. So is it going to be like, all right, who blinks? Like you said, is there a changeup that they throw out there? The other thing too is mentioning Josh Allen running. Next Gen Stats pointed this out on one of their insights. He's at the lowest amount of design runs this year. Scrambles are one thing, that's pass play running, and the design runs are actually like read plays and all that. Lowest of his career, 1.3 design runs per game. Time to dust off the old nuke button in this game. Just go, okay, all right, let's call about 3 or 4 of these and let's get it going because Anthony Richardson got this defense with it a little bit. Baker Mayfield had a quarterback draw touchdown against this defense. Kyler Murray had a couple nice runs on design runs against this defense. So like maybe that's the little change up that the Bills try to throw their way. I think it's going to be a big Amari Cooper game against man coverage, or whoever they decide is the corner that they want to attack. Keon Coleman's back. Khalil Shakir might be a big game for him. You have Dalton Kincaid against Brian Branch, which was just a fun matchup. So this is just a really fun kind of strength on strength thing here, as long as the Lions are healthy-ish. That will kind of make it that way too. And do they try to blitz them? Allen torches the blitz. He's done that his whole career. He's just consistently good against the blitz, and teams don't really want to do it. He's second in EPA per dropback against the blitz, and he tries to gash you. And it's pretty funny too, talking about that scramble stuff. 5 scrambles against the blitz, 4 of them went for first downs. Must be so frustrating for defenses to go against this guy. Unless you just outscore him like the Rams did, because it's just like, all right, try this. All right, well, try this. He just ran by us. Okay, no, now we're going to squat on everything, and then he chucks it over the top and beats you over the top. So, Josh Allen is always going to be a conundrum, but I do think that maybe targeting Amari Cooper a little bit against all this man coverage. Amari's got a 35% target share against man coverage this year. 1 out of 3 balls goes to him when they play man coverage, or defenses playing man coverage. So maybe check him out. That's why they went and acquired him.
Yeah, that was, I'd say, that's probably the main reason why he's here. Someone win. Someone's got to win here.
Someone has to win. Yeah, it's either Keon Coleman, back shoulders, Shakir in the middle. I think Kincaid might get snuffed out a little bit. Brian Branch is really good. So I don't know if this is a Kincaid game, but we'll see. Maybe on early downs. Other side, though, we got the Lions offense, which is at the top or near the top in every metric you look at, going against the Bills defense that had been playing really goodish, and then now it's kind of dropped off a little bit until they got absolutely shellacked last week against the Rams. Yeah. When you're checking out this side of the ball, Charles, what are some of the stuff you're looking at?
Well, I started there because I just looked at like the last 4 games the Bills have played. So they had they had a bye some of this, like the last 5 weeks of Bills defense, and they're 25th in points per drive, 25th in EPA per play, 31st in pressure rate, 32nd in success rate, dropback success rate, first downs and touchdowns per play, third down conversion rate, and their 30th and third and short conversion rate, giving up 73.7% of all third and short attempts over their last 4 games. And I was like, hold on.
This is even worse than I thought.
Right, yeah. But I was like, wait, is that just skewed by the Rams game? So I cut it off, and no, it wasn't. They really are like the worst defense in football, even if you pull the Rams game out of it. Like they're near the bottom for everything. Because then you go back to the Colts game that they played against Joe Flacco, and they got turnovers, but the Colts had a really high success rate in that game, and they were actually moving the ball outside of Joe Flacco crapping down his legs. So the only real spot that the Bills have been good at is turnovers. They're second in turnovers per drive. Outside of that, they're getting absolutely bludgeoned. And then when you play a game like the Rams and you don't get any turnovers, that's what it looks like. You give up 44 points. So I was like, well, maybe there's an area where they don't suck, or there's an area where they don't just get killed by the Lions in this situation, because the recent trends would show, oh my God, the Lions are about to score 50 points here, and it doesn't matter what Josh Allen does. So they kind of run the opposite defense from what the Lions do. They're 9th highest zone coverage rate, 24th man coverage rate. They don't blitz all that much. So I started looking through just like any little slivers of optimism I could find. Jared Goff against cover 2, 18th in EPA per dropback, 25th in sack rate. The Bills run the 8th highest cover 2 rate in the league. So maybe that's an option for them. But you can look up the run. You can look up like the running stats for 2.
Crush them, right?
Yes, for 2 high coverages. The Lions are 2nd in yards per carry, 6 yards per carry, 1st in EPA per rush, 3rd in rushing success rate. 20% of the runs are going for 10 yards or more, and they're 3rd in yards before contact against 2 high coverages at almost 3 yards before contact in 2 high coverages. I don't know, man. I don't know. Like. What's the answer here? Like, you just gotta hope that Goff just kind of like has one of those golf games where too much is going. Maybe they can't run the ball, but I have no reason to believe that they won't be able to just get under center and just pound the rock like they have been able to every week, which is, again, what makes this offense so hard to stop, like we talked about. You can have all different types of defenses. They've played Brian Flores. They're going to play this week. They've mowed them all down. So I don't know. I really don't know what to do here, because the recent trends suggest that this is going to be an ugly game for Buffalo's defense.
They don't have like those easy answers, or natural answers is the term we always come up with, but that you're like, oh yeah, they just do this, they're fine. I mean, even in the game against the Rams, and we talked about this on Sunday night, was they were getting in zone. Stafford was gashing them. And then in the second half, they're like, okay, we got to run man. But then they have like backup corners in, trying to keep up with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp and stuff. And it's just like, again, it's like, that's what these really good offenses do. Like, all right, you want to do this against us? We'll just do this. And such a great point about the running the ball, because Ben Johnson has no qualms with just pounding it over and over and over if you're going to be getting those soft boxes. So, I mean, I even wrote, I was like, I think this can be a dagger fest for the Lions, because the same thing with that cover 2 point. They love running dagger, and dagger is just a seam, straight run and a big dig behind it. They love that concept. Goff's really good at throwing it. They love calling it. So look for that. I even was looking up the same stuff. I was like, all right, Stafford's the best QB in the league against zone. Goff is worst, but he's still top 10. It wasn't like a big drop off where you're like, oh yeah, just run zone. He's 24th or something like that. But I think that's going to be a St. Brown heavy game. And then but it makes sense. Like I like looking at the target share versus zone versus man, all that stuff. And the guy that gets the most targets against zone and cover 2 for the Lions is David Montgomery, because everything becomes against cover 2 is the gashes on the field are underneath, which is running the ball or checking it down, or digs. So that's what I mean. I think it's just going to be daggers of St. Brown and checking it down to Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, and that's going to be their pass game for this game. And I think it's going to be fine with them. And then also the Bills run nickel like all the time. Like, Teron Johnson is a great player, and him against St. Brown's going to be a lot of fun. But you're going against the Lions, who they're going to just get big and just pound it on you. So, it's just every like I couldn't really find a thread I could pull out for the Bills. Like, this is what the Lions do. This is just such a tough matchup for them. So I think there's going to be some real points in this game. I'm really excited for this one. The Bills have a virtual practice today, apparently, because of weather going on in Buffalo. That's also something to kind of note. And Goff doesn't have to throw in the snow, so that's also huge for him, because he just gets to play every game indoors. But any predictions for this game? Like I said, the spread is the Lions are 2.5 point favorites.
Is this in Buffalo?
No, this is in Detroit.
Oh, okay. Because I got a little confused with the snow part, but.
Oh, and I say he doesn't have to throw in the snow.
Yeah. I thought you meant like, you're just going to run the ball if you play. Like, yeah, I would too. If we're playing in the snow. But
again, the Lions kind of have everything you need.
Yeah. I think Lions by 2.5 sounds right. I think Josh Allen does a lot to keep them in this game. Mm-hmm. I think it goes back and forth, but it's like a good old line is like the universal solvent, man. If we can just get under center and just run the ball, see ya. So I think that's what carries them at the end.
And that's the thing, is like the Bills can do it too. It's just that I don't think their defense can
withhold.
Stick for four quarters, like for 60 plays. Like I think this game's gonna be closer in the first half, and then maybe the Lions pull away. I'm with you. I think it's a close win by the Lions. But I do think there's gonna be some points. I think there's gonna be some fun running the ball, but I think the Lions pull ahead at the end. All right, we are going to take our first break, and then we'll come back with our Haas fight of the week and our slop watch, kind of, sort of. We are back. Next game up is our Haas fight of the week. It's Bucs at Chargers. That's my favorite one.
That was good.
That's my favorite one. I like that one a lot. Because you said it reminded you of that TikTok, right?
Yeah.
Where you going? Where you going?
Gritty.
This is our Haas fight of the week. We have the Bucs at Chargers. Chargers are 3-point favorites. I mean, we got two playoff teams here the season we're to end today, and interesting game here. We'll start with let's say the Bucs have the ball. Chargers are on defense. What do you got for me, Charles? What are you watching on that side of the ball?
Well, I think we talked about it like a month ago. This was the stretch where the Chargers defense was going to have to start playing real offenses. Like over their past 4 games, they played the Bengals, Ravens, Falcons, Chiefs. Those are, I know the Falcons or whatever, but still.
It's good offense.
It's a good offense. It's a lot better than the schlock they were playing the first 9 weeks of the season. Yeah. Since then, they've averaged out to probably be an average defense, which is not bad to me. For where you started, this was the worst defense in football last year. And for you to even be average against 4 of the better offenses in the league, that's a pretty good start. One area that they are good at, which I thought was interesting, was their 10th in EPA per dropback in that span, but they are also 24th in EPA per rush attempt in that span. And we know Buccaneers, they're going to run the ball. That's what they're doing. Since Chris Godwin got hurt, since Mike Evans has been in and out, Liam Cohen, they haven't overthought it. Okay, we don't have our receivers, but we got a really good offensive line. Tristan Wirfs been playing out of his mind. Barton's good. And all of our young running backs are playing well too. Bucky Irving's having a breakout rookie season. Rashad White's been playing well. Sean Tucker's done well when he's got his matchups and got it in the game. So the game plan is pretty clear. And I think it's been kind of cool to see because on the fly, it's you would think as the Bucs offense, we're so wide receiver centric. That's what we've been with Brady. That's what we've been recently because that's where our good players are. Those guys exit and they immediately have a counter. Okay, we're just going to run the offense through our running backs and our offensive line for the rest of the time. So I think it's just going to be a cool little chess match because I think when you look at where the Bucs are and what the Chargers can be good at, it seems like a strength on strength because I personally love the idea of watching Dan Henley trying to just play against all the muck and the screens that the Bucs are going to throw at them because he has the athleticism to do that. Derwin James is playing well. I'm sure he'll be a part of that plan too. I think the Bucs, they're at least built to continue going like this. They've barely let Baker Mayfield throw the ball at all. Their first in pressure rate since Chris Godwin got hurt, they're still 18th in sack rate, which is pretty funny. First in pressure rate, 18th in sack rate.
So first pressure rate allowed, in a good way?
They've allowed the least amount of pressure. 18th in sack rate. With Baker.
Because they throw so many freaking screens. And so when he actually has to drop back, it's oh yeah, that's Baker.
Yeah. They're third in EPA per rush. They're 7th in explosive run rate, first in yards after contact.
It's a great run game, man.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
They're just let's get our offensive line and backs out in front of people and let's mow them down. And it's working so far. The Baker Mayfield prevention plan has been a good one for Liam Cohen.
just incubate him. Yeah, just incubate the Baker. Yeah, that's what you got to do. No, it's a great call that would bring it up. The receivers get hurt, or even when Rashad White got hurt early in the year, and then it was the Bucky Irving and Sean Tucker show against the Saints. I mean, that was embarrassing from the Saints, but it was like, oh wow, this is maybe a little different Bucs team we're looking at. So they're running a little bit more of that pony personnel with 2 running backs on the field, which is a lot of fun. They do all that screen stuff. I kind of want to make this Haas fight because I love the Graham Barton shout out going against like Puna Ford and Tierra Tart. That's going to be a fun battle on the interior. Cody Mock's playing well at right guard. Luke Gedeke is playing real well at right tackle. Like that, the Bucs O-line, like you said, is one of the better ones in the league. The Bucs are just they have so many injuries on both sides of the ball. I mean, their injury list was, Ben Bredesen did not participate in practice on Wednesday. KJ Brett did not participate. Mike Edwards, safety, did not participate. Mike Evans did not participate Wednesday or today. I just saw that right before we came on. Greg Gaines, limited participation. Josh Hayes did not participate. Bucky Irving did not participate. He might miss this week. I think he is going to miss this week. Christian Izine did not participate. Co Keefe, limited participant. JJ Russell, limited participant. Sterling Shepard did not participate. Tyke Smith, limited participant. Antoine Winfield Jr. did not participate. And Tristan Wirfs did not participate.
Whoa.
I kept scrolling down. I was like, and then I copied and pasted a little screenshot of the injury list, and I had to like squeeze it into my notes because it was so long. So I had to change the size of it. I know they're banged up, and that's why it's kind of like you want to credit them, especially on offense, what Liam Cohen's doing. Just like no matter who's been in and out, it's like he's done one of the most impressive jobs. Like he's worthy of those interviews this offseason that he's going to get. He has been earned those. What I was looking at on this side, talking about all those screens and maybe the Baker incubation system that they've created over there in Tampa, it's that nobody has thrown the ball or nobody has more yards on throws of 10 or fewer air yards than Baker, which is those screens, which is underneath stuff. Third most pass attempts are 10 or fewer air yards this year. He has 2,100 yards on those. No one else is over 2,000, which is pretty funny. Chargers on those, so short throws as they're defined as, third in success rate allowed, second lowest explosive pass rate allowed. So this defense tackles really well. They are so aware of what the other offenses want to do. So they've become one of these units. It's like, all right, how's Jesse Minter going to figure this one out? Like how are they, like you watch their defenders and they're really just like, they know what they're getting. Like you don't see them get fooled a lot, maybe against, the Bengals, they got hit with the double move. But again, they got hit on that because they were so aware of what the Bengals were trying to do that the Bengals got them with the double move. But man, just a really, really good and sound defense going against a sound offense that keeps finding answers in some ways. But you can get Baker. Like he's going to put the ball in harm's way. He's going to make a Baker mistake. Our guy, Derek Klassen, had such a funny tweet where he's like, this is the funniest sack of the year. Did you see that one?
I missed that one.
It was a slot blitz last week, and the DB, thuds up the running back. I want to say it was Irving. I could be wrong. There might be Rashad White, but anyways, it doesn't matter. Thud up, little collision right there to the left of Baker, and then the DB kind of grabs over at Baker as he's trying to do like his little spin move that he always does, and he kind of gets just tripped up. So it looked like the DB just like gave him like a force push. Like just like force pushing him, and he twirled around and just like fell off, and it was just like, oh, Baker, never changed, my man. No, this is just a fun scheme battle. This is gonna be a fun cat and mouse game between these. How is Minter and this defense gonna get Baker or try to get Baker, and are they gonna snuff out all these screens and make it hard on them? So they need Evans to play to like give them a real chance. But it's it's gonna be a really fun one on that side of the ball. Anything on the other side of the ball? I think it's Herbert is banged up too. He has an ankle and a thigh injury. Guy just keeps racking him up. Even though Jim Harbaugh did say he's the toughest quarterback in NFL history, which is one of my favorite videos of this past season.
The toughest quarterback in NFL history.
Did you see that video? It's my favorite.
I love him.
Because he said, I used to be first. And I will say that I am now second, which is just like, okay. I don't know. I love it.
The funniest Harbaugh
college can have Belichick. I'll take Harbaugh all day.
We'll take Harbaugh. The funniest Harbaugh video to me this year has been I don't remember exactly which game it was, but it's pregame and he's like playing catch with the quarterbacks and Ladd McConkey and he's wearing gloves and he drops a pass and he gets so mad at himself. He's like, damn it, I'm like, whoa, you just pick it up and throw it back and throw you another one.
He loves playing catch, like, which is so funny. I mean, he's the same guy that brings a ball glove to baseball games. He brings a baseball glove to baseball games in case he can catch a foul ball or something. This guy loves sports. He loves his ball sports. Yeah, I mean, if Herbert doesn't play, no, but I think he is going to play as the toughest
to play for sure.
Toughest quarterback in NFL history. Well, you didn't like the Taylor Heineke first play head first slide?
No,
that was giving you nice flashbacks there.
I tweeted, I was just like, anyone but Taylor Heineke. And people were like, he's better than Easton Stick. I was like, you wouldn't get it, okay? You just wouldn't get it. You had to be there last year for the 2023 Arthur Smith offense when Taylor Heineke absolutely played worse football than Desmond Ridder last year. It was just, it was so horrible to watch.
I already shared my Desmond Ridder had better stats than Bryce Young's stat the other day.
Yeah.
We're not seeing Desmond Ridder this week, actually. It looks like AOC's getting the Monday night football start.
I was really
not bringing that again.
That.
I know. I wanted a little revenge battle on Monday night. It would have been fun to watch.
It would have been really funny. Yeah.
Yeah. Predictions for this game? Chargers are 3-point favorites. I guess a Haas fight too, because the Chargers are going to run the ball 100 times as well against this Bucs defense with Vita Vea and everything. So that's part of the Haas fight-ness of this game. But predictions for this game?
I mean, as long as the Chargers to me, they kind of remind me of like a toddler who they're in the kitchen and they're learning how to use like stuff for the first time. And at some point, every child is going to ask to pour their own juice for the first time, right? So you have a big cup and the Chargers' first and second down plays, that's that's the baby carrying the juice and just spilling it all over the counter. Mom, can you come clean it up? That's Justin. It says 3rd and 10. If Justin's healthy and you can survive 3rd and 10s, he's been like a top 10 quarterback on third and long this year. Hasn't thrown an interception. That's the only way they're really getting their explosive passing plays for the most part. Then they have a chance. One of the random trends I saw was that really alarmed me was when I looked at the past like month of play for the Bucs, they had like the number 2 defense in football the past month, and I looked and they played the Giants, Panthers, and the Raiders, and I was like, okay, that makes a whole lot of sense. So I mean, this isn't too much farther off from that because this offense is kind of like those offenses, except they have Justin Herbert in. They waste so many drives, but I think at the end of the day, Herbert's good enough where they can just convert just enough on the drives where you're not going 3 and out and running straight first into a brick wall. So I'll give LA the nod here.
Yeah, I think I'm feeling like a 2017 kind of Chargers win here, maybe 21-17 or something like that if you want to get a cover in there. But I'm going Chargers. That is fun though. Todd Bowles on 3rd down against Justin Herbert's fun. Watching Vance Joseph and the Broncos against the Chargers earlier this year was a lot of fun because they were getting home, like, because the center can sort out anything for the Chargers, and then Herbert was just throwing haymaker after haymaker after haymaker. So it was a lot of fun. And then Ladd McConkey, of course, Ladd McConkey's practiced, so that's huge too. If he's not practicing, then it's but at least Ladd's back out there. Ladd's, by the way, just wrote up the rookies. Ladd's 10th in yards per route run among all players. He's the real deal. He's so much fun. All right, going on to our next game. Steelers at Eagles, and this is our Slop Watch.
Warning. This is a Slop Watch.
I like that. This is the lipstick on a pig Slop Watch QB matchup because Steelers Eagles is kind of like, wow, aren't these teams like playoff teams, and they actually have some units that are actually pretty good, but I want you to take the lead here of why this is our Slop Watch, Charles, because we're both thinking that this can maybe be get a little messy or get a little ugly, I think, in Philadelphia.
One, it's the Steelers, and that's
perma slop.
Yeah, Mike Tomlin's ideal game is just drenching steaks in the water. Sloppy steaks, slopping it up. Next thing you know, we've held Lamar Jackson to 1-16 on 3rd down, and not a single person's had a good time today. But I think in this game, that I know when you start looking at the metrics, you start looking at like even the Steelers' recent string of run defense, it looks kind of scary for them. But I don't think that they would necessarily have a whole lot of time like making the picture especially on pass defense, on pass downs, making the picture like muddy for Jalen Hurts because that's kind of what the mantra's always been for the Steelers. I know they're playing a lot more man this year. Maybe they have, like, when you stereotypically think of like a Steelers defense, which is a little scary because Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown are pretty good first man coverage, and A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith are pretty good first man coverage and getting open and making plays against defensive backs. But I think this is slop watch because, one, I think the Steelers can do enough to hamper Hurts' ability to process the field and throw the ball. And on the flip side, we can be real about this. It's not like the Steelers' offense has actually been all that good with Russell Wilson as their starter.
We've been talking about this.
I know,
like,
because
I swear they're better.
I swear they're better. And they are in some areas. Like, they're basically like, maybe outside of Kansas City, they're probably the best third and long team in the league since Russ has been the quarterback. They're averaging a 0.57 EPA per drop back on third and long since Russ has taken over.
He's like his throw. I just randomly saw this because I was looking something else up. His average air yards to sticks on third down, so like how far he pushes past the third down or the first down marker on third down, is like 5. So that means, say it's 3rd and 10. That means he's throwing it 15 yards down the field, which is not how Russ played in Denver, by the way. And the only one that had a higher mark than that was Anthony Richardson. So yeah, which makes a lot of sense. But yeah, with Russ, it's like, okay, yeah, they're just throw those grenades up there.
On 3rd and 7, the Steelers have, since Russell Wilson's taken over, on 3rd and 7 longer, the Steelers have a 30% explosive play rate, which is by far the first in the NFL. So 1st and 2nd down, they're kind of doing the Chargers thing, right? We're running into brick walls. Yeah. We're not really gaining that much. And then 3rd down comes and they get like some of the explosive there, which is not a great way to play football, but you kind of look at Russell Wilson's whole career and you're like, there's a lot of things here that don't really make sense in terms of like conventional wisdom, and they keep popping up and they keep working. So I think that, do we know if Pickens is going to play? Because earlier in the week, it seemed like he wasn't going to play. Okay, that's a huge deal. Because if he's out...
I got some stats, don't you worry.
I'll let you take the floor on that, because I'm sure if he's out, well, who are you supposed to be afraid of here on this offense?
That's it. That's literally my argument, or not argument, but like my main points for like my side here is that I was looking at this and I was like, no Pickens? How bad is this offense without George Pickens? And Charles, they're very bad without George Pickens. They go from 17th in the league when Pickens is on the field in offensive success rate. Without Pickens, they're 31st. In passing success rate, they go from 18th to 30th. An explosive pass rate, which is what you're getting at, and which is the big thing for this offense and this team needs, is explosive pass plays. That's the formula. They go from 8th to 17th. And Russ is actually 2nd. So that this is including Justin Fields' starts, but Russ is actually 2nd in the league in explosive pass rate among all quarterbacks. EPA per play, they go from 15th to 26th. EPA per dropback, they go from 10th to 23rd. So they go from like what we've been kind of talking about, like an ugly but average offense that gets the job done, to one of the worst offenses that can't really move the ball, can't really throw the ball consistently. So it's kind of like everything we're getting at, especially with Reed Blankenship is back for the Eagles, which is huge. Like, all right, Cooper DeJean's better than any offensive skill guy for the Steelers. Quinyon Mitchell's better than any offensive skill guy for the Steelers. So I'm just kind of like, all right, so who are the matchups? All right, I think we're going to see 40 tight ends for the Steelers. I think that's just going to be like almost every play. The Steelers trot out all their tight ends, 12, 13. They might do some pony personnel with Cordell Patterson, because that's Arthur Smith's kind of like Band-Aid. Like that's his like, what do we do? I don't know. Throw some Cordell Patterson at it. Pony personnel.
That worked 3 years ago.
It did. Yeah, I know. And you make, I know. When they like just used him randomly as the running back, the first team to actually, that's when I was like really interested in the Falcons. Like, I think so was Arthur's first year. I remember second year, is year 2.
Yeah,
year 2. Wow, this actually works. Like that's cool. They're getting some stuff with Patterson out of this. Okay, but then ever since then, it's just been sad. I just think this is interesting because the Eagles defense, they want to make it tight. They don't want to give up big plays. They want to make you be patient and run the ball and nickel and dime the passing game. That's not what the Steelers can do passing wise. And then running wise, it's interesting because, all right, if the Steelers trot out all these tight ends, the Eagles have only faced 10 plays this year when the offense has been in 13, which is 3 tight ends, or 13 jumbo, which is, if offensive line. fewest amount of plays in the NFL. They've only allowed a yard per play on those, but it's all been short yardage stuff. It hasn't been like 1st and 10. Here comes Washington and Freiermuth and Pruitt and Hayward, and they're just getting pounded on you. So that's kind of just the angle I think that they will go down. The Steelers will. I don't think you have to twist Arthur Smith's arm to do it, but it just has to be perfect. Like it has to be pristine because they don't have that kind of bailout George Pickens, like, Mike Williams, I guess, but it's going to be an ugly side on that, especially against this Eagles Fangio defense that wants to squeeze you and make everything tight. That side of the ball is going to feel really, really tight.
Yeah, I think the multiple tight ends is something I had written down. We're still looking through all this since the lens of since Russ has gotten back. But like for all 12 personnel snaps, they're 8th in EPA, 9th in EPA per play, 9th in EPA per drop back, 9th in overall success rate. The Eagles have also been really, really good against 12 personnel, like all season, been bludgeoning it.
Wait, I parse the Eagles.
I know.
They're good at this too. They're good at this too. They're good at this too.
But if there's one avenue outside of, the slim pickings of 3rd and long explosives, probably just get in there in 12 personnel and just
win by 4 yards.
Rock fight it. Yeah.
And also, like, this game could have been the Haas fight too, because both sides really. Jalen Carter versus Zach Frazier and Milton Williams and Mason McCormick and all those guys against this Eagles front. That'll be a lot of fun. The other side of the ball is for sure a Haas fight. You got Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, Mekhi Becton, who's playing really well, Lane Johnson going against Cam Hayward, Keanu Benton, TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, and Nick Herbig. Like, that's a battle. Larry Ogunjobi has a groin injury, so to monitor that one. But really for that side, I was kind of just like, just run the ball 100 times, Eagles. Like, don't overthink this. Like, you don't want Minka against Jalen Hurts. You don't want to allow Minka Fitzpatrick to do his damage, even though it's over the middle and Hurts isn't going to throw it that way. Still, like, you don't want him getting fooled and doing those. So I think the Eagles should just run it over and over. Like, that's how you have to do it against us. They're big and burly, but there's avenues to run it against them because I think passing the ball, even though there's a lot of drama about them throwing the ball right now, I just don't listen. I know it's hard. Don't listen to the noise. Just keep running it. Run it 45 times. So, like, that is what this team's formula should be. Any other thoughts other than my just run the ball kind of thought?
No, just run the ball. There was a stat that I had when I was looking up the Lions before contact too high that I thought was before contact runs against too high coverages. The Lions were 3rd at 2.69 in terms of yards per contract on too high coverages. And the Eagles are 1st at 3.36 yards before contact. Before contact. So you better bring a safety in the box.
Basically an efficient run before they even get touched. Yeah.
Yeah, you're giving up 7 yards if you don't put an extra safety in the box against the Eagles. So, weirdly enough, I was interested to see that the Steelers' run game over the past 8 games hasn't been very good either. They're 31st EPA per rush, 25th in success rate on the ground. So, I don't know why. Maybe it's just Tomlin magic. I still trust him just to muck it up enough for the Eagles offense to keep it close. But the numbers say this is probably leaning towards an Eagles stomping, especially with Pickens out, because even when you started talking about the 12 personnel stuff, okay, that makes you feel a lot better when George Pickens is out there versus whoever is, whoever's going to be representing you a wide receiver.
Because at least that's a coin flip, even though Quinyon Mitchell's good and everything, at least he's going to give you a shot at some, okay, we don't need to eke out another 4 yards. We can get 30 right here. Okay, that makes it easier. I know. So I'm with you. Eagles are 5-point favorites. I think they're going to take this one. I just think it's going to be ugly. So maybe the Steelers do cover, but it's just one of those where it's it's hard for me to find that path. But again, this is what Tomlin does. This is exactly the type of game that I'll say this. And then it's just Steelers win 24-14. How did that happen? And we're all just like, what? Also got to watch special teams, of course, involving the Steelers too. So is that your prediction? Or, okay. Kind of, we're on the same. We're in lockstep today. All right. We're going to take one last break and we'll come back to wrap up our deep dives. All right. We are back. And this one is a huge tilt as far as playoff implications. We have the Colts at the Broncos, both teams coming off a bye week. If the Colts win, they're currently at a 30% chance to make the playoffs. If they win this game, it jumps up to 66%, according to New York Times playoff machine. I think that's what they call it, playoff model, playoff machine thing. Fun to click around on to make the playoffs against. And then they have games remaining against the Titans, at the Giants, and then the Jags. Not exactly a murderer's row to wrap up your season. If after this game, they only have a 10% chance to make the playoffs if they lose. The Broncos currently have a 72% chance to make the playoffs, 89% if they win this game. So basically 9 out of 10 chance, a shot that they make the playoffs if they win this. Drops down to 45% chance if they lose this game. So under a coin flip. Then they play at the Chargers, at the Bengals, and then home against the Chiefs. A little more difficult than the other side there. Watching this game, Charles, do you have a one thing, anything to check out here? I think it's going to be pretty interesting one as far as, because the Broncos defense is probably the best unit of these 4 units. But anything else that you're checking out in this game?
Yeah, I just want to see. I know there's things at play here, like for the Colts immediately, as far as playoff hopes go, but I want to see if Anthony Richardson can play well against like what is objectively one of the best defenses in football. I know they got torched by Jameis and the touchdown pick fest a couple weeks ago, but overall, like they've shut down a ton of offenses that they played, and as much as I think Anthony Richardson is definitely better than Joe Flacco, it's not like their offense has actually been all that consistent since he got back. Like, they had moments. They had the game against the Jets, but overall, like, even since he got back, they're 30th in success rate, 28th in rushing success rate, 24th in the offensive dropback success rate. It's not exactly pretty. They're averaging 4.9 yards per play. And against the Broncos defense, they make it hard on you, man. Like, they don't give an inch. They're tough up front. They have good players in the secondary. Their secondary is a lot more talented than the Colts wide receivers are. So this is probably going to be a superhero game for Anthony Richardson. And I just want to see if he can do it. I personally don't care if they win or lose. I just want to see how he plays, because I think that is the most compelling part of this game. I think the Broncos offense could have some pretty big success against the Colts defense with how they're playing right now, though.
It's interesting after the bye week, so that's why it's like, especially you got Sean Payton, and I don't know how Steichen is after the bye week, but Sean Payton I know is good after the bye, so that's why. Okay, what layers you dropping in here? Also, that's what this whole year about the Colts, because of how young, especially on offense, they are. I've been like, man, I wish they had like a week 9 bye week. Or like a week 10. This is so late in the year that it wasn't perfect for maybe that. You usually see teams get a little bump after the bye if they're well coached and if they have improving players and stuff. So what layers do they add? What stuff? It's kind of nice that they got a couple games before that bye to see what they do with Richardson. But Richardson against the blitz, that'll be interesting. Can he nickel and dime this defense? Who does Surtain cover? When they're in man situations, we saw Judy go off against whoever Surtain was not covering, essentially, a couple weeks ago. Pierce, Pittman, and Josh Downs has to have a huge game. Downs is practicing, which is huge for the Colts because he's probably their most consistent and best receiver overall. So it could be a big Downs game. Like the Broncos are pretty good against the slot, like about middle of the pack. Even when Riley Moss is the only. Just talk about all those Bucs injuries and these other games. The Broncos only had one player not practicing this week, and that was Riley Moss. Everybody else was practicing, which is huge. I mean, especially coming off the bye. But they're still not bad defending the slot, even when he's not out there. I am curious, though, how much play action the Colts use. They like to use a lot of play action. Broncos are second in EPA per dropback against play action. So a lot of, some strengths of the Broncos doesn't really match up well for the Colts. And then the other side, Gus Bradley doesn't blitz a lot. He's going to make you, that's kind of his shtick. He's going to make you nickel and dime you. A lot of cover 3, a lot of cover 4 too in there. Then that's what they run just over and over. You saw Drake May have a real positive performance against this defense. Really, again, nickel and diming, having to be patient. This is a great game to see if Bo Nix can show that as well. They also. Bo Nix doesn't do well against the blitz. Matt and I broke this down earlier this week. He's kind of bottom 5 in every metric against the blitz. Colts, though, don't blitz. They're 26. Do they increase that coming out of the bye week just for this matchup? Because you got to treat, if you're the Colts, this is a playoff game. So game plan wise, throw the kitchen sink out there. Like just any change ups you can throw out there, you're going to have to do it. So kind of a fun matchup for that side too. But yeah, like you said, seeing Anthony Richardson maybe, step it up in this game would be really fun, and for the Colts at least. And I don't know, I like watching the Broncos defense and the Broncos run game should actually probably be able to get after this Colts run defense as well. Been better with DeForest Buckner out there, but you can still get after them. Broncos are 4-point favorites.
Broncos.
Yeah. I'm going to go Broncos, but Colts cover. I think it's a 3-point Broncos win. Just to spice it up a little bit.
I think the Broncos defense bludgeons him, and it's over pretty fast.
It's just an ugly one?
Yeah. Cemetery game for the Colts offense.
I can see that. I was looking at rushing success rate stats for an article early this week, or the rookie article, and it was like Zamir White has like the lowest rushing success rate, but then like Jonathan Taylor is like second to last. And I had to look at all the filters. I'm like, did I filter this wrong? And I was like, no, that's just a fact. Huh. That's how I feel about the Colts. Is like, really? Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, hopefully this bye week revamped them, but we'll see. A last game here, Sunday Night Football, Packers at Seahawks. Seahawks are 2.5-point underdogs at home. Actually surprised me a little bit, but 2.5-point underdogs at home. God, I feel like I watched this game a ton in college and just after college.
Right.
I feel like the Seahawks, oh my God, this was a classic. Remember they opened the week or opened the season in a game, and then that was the Seahawks hit some it was that classic Auburn play. It was the zone read, and then the receiver runs like a go route when the corner crashes. And that I remember the Seahawks did it, and everyone oh my God, that's going to revolutionize football. We've never seen it again.
Revolutionize football. You watched one game on Saturday, dude.
I know that's the thing, is everyone's like, well, Auburn's been doing this for years, but I remember that everyone went nuts about that. But anyways, watching this game, Charles, we'll say when the Packers have the ball against the Seahawks defense, what are you keeping your eyes on?
Oh man, this is what I'm here for. Packers offense versus Seahawks defense, because the Seahawks defense, they've, especially since the bye, the combination of getting Ernest Jones and rolling that into the bye week, they've been one of the best defenses in football. I actually just deleted all of it by accident, but I can tell you, yeah, that's a good idea, but my hands are talking. They put the Cardinals. It's not like they've just beat up on a bunch of crappy defense. Like when we talked about the Bucs earlier, and oh my God, the defense numbers over the past month are crazy when they played. You look at the draft standings, and they're the teams at the top that the Bucs have played. But the Seahawks, they played the Cardinals twice. They played the Jets. They played the Rams in that span. So Jets, not so much, but they did shut them down in the second half, totally and completely. And I think even when you go back to the Rams game, a lot of that was just, I thought a lot of that towards the end of the game was just Stafford heroics. Sometimes when he's on, you just can't do anything about it. They had, I think in that game, the Seahawks, they averaged the Rams to 10 yards to go on every third down attempt in that game. So you still give up 26 points. I feel like sometimes you just have to hat tip your opponent and say, hey, you got my ass this time. But I thought that one of the more interesting things about this game was when I started looking up I got lost on the rabbit hole of average distance to first down and third down. And the Seahawks defense, they have 6 of the top 16 performances in terms of just holding teams at bay on third down this season, which I think is interesting when you look at where the Packers are, because they're running the ball pretty well right now. But their third downs have not been good. Recently they've been one of the worst teams on third down. So if the Seahawks defense can continue that trend and keep them into 3rd and 9 plus, 3rd and 10 plus, especially with the way Leonard Williams is playing right now, with the way Ernest Jones is playing right now, and Nwosu has some good reps against the run versus the Cardinals, and also Byron Murphy is really starting to come into his own. That's a tough front to try and run against. So if you can get Jordan Love into some of these longer down distances, I know that he's a really good quarterback. He's one of the best in the league, but he's still got some Brett Favre in him every once in a while, every now and then. And I think that that's where the Seahawks can have success. We're going to keep things in front of us. We're going to get to 3rd and 10, and then hopefully we can force them to make a mistake or do something errant that gets us off the field. I think Mike Tomlin's done such an incredible job with that defense. And, I was talking with you a couple days ago when I went back to look at the early season numbers for the Seahawks defense, they weren't nearly as bad as I had in my brain. They were about like league average across the board, and now they're playing like one of the best defenses in football, and they beat down the Cardinals twice, who we know have a good offense too. So that's really impressive turnaround by them.
And it's encouraging because, especially for this game, is because the Packers and Cardinals have some same DNA as far as how they want to get after you. All the tight ends, the run game, play action stuff. So it's like, the fact that they can hold up against that is huge, because I felt like those offenses the Patriots were able to move the ball on the Seahawks defense early in the year, And the Ernest Jones edition, and then the other linebacker, the rookie, I actually just studied him, Tyrese Knight. He got the nod after their bye week too. So like that's both of these guys come in.
He's had some nice plays, man.
He has. Yeah, he's their 4th round pick. He has. I know that was the thing. Going into the season, I started really, Seahawks became one of my summer teams, kind of like where I was like started to squint, going like, okay, actually I kind of like you. I had them as a playoff team and everything, but it was all about their front and their back end, not their linebackers. And now that they have tolerable play at linebacker, it's like, oh yeah, your front and your back end are really good. You got Devin Witherspoon. You got Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant's actually having some nice games. Julian Love is really dynamic, and then up front, like you already mentioned, all the guys up there. So,
dude, they've tinkered a lot with this defense throughout the season.
They have.
Getting Ernest Jones, basically reshuffling like the whole starting inside linebacker room from the season. They moved Kobe Bryant to safety, which is working out really well.
Bench him, they just cut him.
Yeah.
Get off the team.
Oh, sorry. We made a mistake. See ya.
Yeah. It's not you. It's us. No, the great point about the 3rd and longs, because that is Mike McDonald's thing. Like all the stuff he was doing with the Ravens and all the funky looks. And we saw it last week against the Cardinals. It was like, oh, okay. He's starting to get in his bag a little bit. And this is a great game for it. And like you said, try and make Jordan Love more like Favre than Rodgers, because he's kind of the middle ground between those two. So like get him to be more like that and put up some prayer balls, put up some, maybe you get Witherspoon or Love jump something, because they're like, oh, okay, they run a ton of dagger too. Maybe they run dagger. Maybe they run another dig here off play action. Speaking of play action, this is the stat I had for this side of the ball. The Jordan Love has the 15th most play action attempts this year, play action pass attempts. He's 2nd in EPA per dropback off play action this year. Seahawks defense, 28th against play action in terms of EPA per dropback. So that is one little path there for this Packers team that they don't have to change. This is what they want to do. I always love seeing what they kind of get to, because they do some fun stuff with the tight ends. Luke Musgrave's practicing, by the way. But also they also have a mini bye because they played last Thursday. So when you get a little mini bye, maybe they get a little fresh idea in here, and then they get to watch the Seahawks and study them, go after that. So I think this is a really cool matchup, especially like you said, the Seahawks defense is playing like a top 5 unit right now, statistically and eye test, doing some cool things. So yeah, and I love watching the Packers offense. One of my favorite offenses to watch, run game wise. Love is really fun. We'll see which receivers they lean into. Might have a great battle between Reed and Devin Witherspoon in the slot, which is a great battle. Tucker Kraft against the tight ends will be fun. Against the safeties will be fun. So other side though, Seahawks offense, Packers defense, anything on this side? Because for me, it's like, I think like keep the good times going. Seahawks trying to keep running that ball.
That's what I was saying. Keep trying to run the ball. Because for most of the season, I would say for the vast majority of the season, the playbook's been the same when we talk about the Seahawks. Gino, keep us alive, Gino. Come on.
Yeah.
We're trying to weather the storm. But if you like, it's never going to be as easy as it was last week to run the ball. Because they had Lake and Tomlinson looking like goddamn Larry Allen. It was crazy. Like it really didn't make any sense. And the Cardinals should probably just like look in the mirror all week after what happened to them in that game. That was an ass kicking. I don't think it'll be that easy this week, but if you can just get some production on the ground and not end up in situations where Gino has to carry the whole load, that would be that's obviously better chances to win, because the Packers defense, one thing we've consistently said that they keep doing is get turnovers. That's the one thing they're going to do every week. So if you can just not get to the part where the bend don't break defenses, where they don't break, if you just kind of power through that and not turn the ball over, I think this had a chance to be a like maybe not a big win in terms of score, but a big win in terms of like stamping yourself as like a true NFC playoff team this week for the Seahawks.
Yeah, because I still hold the Packers pretty high in kind of my mental estimation. But the Seahawks are more like, oh yeah, they're interesting to now that it's like, man, you guys actually might just be good. And that's huge. No, great point about Geno and stuff. They need the run game to cook. And you can against this Packers defense. I believe Edgerrin Cooper is playing again, which is huge for the Packers because he's their best linebacker. And going against this defense, this offense, definitely going to want that. Talked about this a little bit. Seahawks offensive line improved tremendously once they made some offensive line changes with Oluwatimi at center, and then the guy whose name I always butcher at right guard. I'm gonna look it up, Satioa Lamuia, but at right guard, Abe Lucas at right tackle, and they're all playing well, which is huge. And so this Seahawks have answers here. The Packers defense isn't overwhelming. I think they're solid-ish, but they are going against the Seahawks team that's starting to find themselves and start to figure it all out. So yeah, I'm very, very excited for this battle. Like I said before, the Seahawks are 2.5-point underdogs at home. What's your prediction for the game?
I think the Seahawks get it done. I think they get it done on the strength of their defense. You know, it's funny because every time I watch Leonard Williams play, I covered him in New York. He's a great guy, awesome dude. Having a hell of a year, but there's been a running joke throughout his career, like when he's really blowing up, it must be a career year for Leonard because he's got the talent. He's got the talent to do this every year, So I looked it up, and not technically a career year, a contract year for him. But the Seahawks can absolutely cut him after the season. So he got 2 years left on his deal after this year. He's playing for his NFL life right now, And it shows, hey, the desperation's a hell of a drug, dude, man. I
wrote it, but I was like, if you just looked at the last month, he's like defensive player of the year.
Oh, yeah.
He's so good right now. I mean, he is. Yeah. It's always been like, I always viewed him as like a super plugger, like more of like, oh, he's big, but he's athletic as a plugger. And now it's like, oh, you actually can bend and like rush the passer like on top of all the run stuff. So yeah, no, great chat with him. That's funny. I'm going with a Packers win actually in Seattle, but I think this game's gonna be back and forth and fun. I'm pretty excited about it. Packers win, but I'm not feeling good about it is my prediction for this game. All right, well that's it for our deep dives, our hoss fights, our lipstick on a pig quarterback slop watch. We are going to get to a mailbag question. And remember, you can either send in your mailbag question to football301mailbag@yahoosports.com or submit a review on Apple Podcasts, preferably 5 stars. That will jump you to the front of the line. If you give us 4 stars, I don't know if you jump to the front of the line unless it's a damn good question. But this is from, I can't say the name, Husador 13. There's a, yeah, I'm not allowed to read it out loud. I'll get beeped out there. Good question, though. In the modern NFL, is there any place for traditional spot drop zone coverages, or is everyone playing some variety of man-match zone right now? Oh, and just to kind of explain this real quick. So man coverage is I have this guy across from me. I'm man-to-man on number 12. Say the receiver is number 12. I have him. I have this guy wherever he goes. Spot drop is I have this, it's zone coverage. That's what spot drop is. And this is why some of our zone man splits sometimes are a little skewed because match is in the middle of this. But zone is I am the curl flat player. I go to this area, and if something happens, I go to this area. I have this area, eyes on the quarterback. I am the deep half player. I am the flat player, but you're to a zone. There's some details with it, but that is the general zone coverage. So man coverage, I have this man. Zone coverage, I have spot drop zone coverage, I have this zone. Match coverage is number count. So if you're looking at trips formation, the outside guy is number 1, the slot guy is number 2, the inside guy is number 3. Guys all have to relate to the number. So I'm the number 3 match guy. And this is when we talk about bunch formations and stacks and guys switching, releasing. That's why you want to do it, because is that guy number 2 or number 3 at the snap? Is he? And that's what you're trying to do to defense, is get them to hesitate that extra half second. So that's what match coverage is. There's other rules to it. If this guy runs this route, you're matching the route, the route concept. So I will make an under call if this guy goes 5 yards underneath. So there's little details to it, but that's the general rules of the differences of zone, man, and match. But you generally, I would say 85 to 90% of the time now it's match. And then even zone coverages these days have some match rules, based on some stuff. But then you'll see a guy like Todd Bowles just run cover 3. And it will just it throws me off every time I see it. This guy's just running out there, not even looking anywhere, just running to their area, cover it, and looking at the quarterback. So it's pretty funny. Cover 2, I guess, is pretty spot droppy. If you kind of look at that, there's some match rules, some do, but teams will be doing just spot drop cover 2 a little bit. So I guess there's a little bit of influx in that. And my answer is yes. There is room for traditional spot drop coverages. In fact, you will see it. The Bucs will do it a bunch with Todd Bowles. And you still see it a lot when defenses are in base defense and not in sub, meaning nickel or dime. They will prefer to play spot drop as opposed to match. Just kind of the rules based on what the offensive looks are, yada, yada, yada. So yes, there's absolutely a place. I've actually liked it a lot as a changeup. As quarterbacks get used to all the match stuff, okay, they're going to play it this way, and then just kind of throw it in there and just kind of like just to change up the angles that the defenders are moving at, the locations they get to. You always just want the quarterback to hold the ball that extra half second, that extra second that can kind of do that. So definitely some angles there on it. Any thoughts on this when you see spot drop?
I've never played quarterback or called plays except on College Football 25. So I know. I look. They have on this game they have
every play. So
on this game they have the signifiers, like you can call cover 4, and then it'll see like a little tag underneath that says match or zone, and you can tell the difference. So I mean on the game, because the match rules are all up, I run spot drop for the most part, but I do think that, like you said, spot drop's a good changeup because the more reps you go through, like on the pattern match stuff, you can start to recognize, like, okay, this guy's going to take this receiver at this point, and at that point, I know I can throw it at that point. But if you get used to seeing the pattern match stuff, and all of a sudden someone doesn't follow a receiver,
exactly.
but you've already moved into like that physical thought process of he's going to. I think that's sometimes where you see some interceptions happen. Like as a whole, no, you probably don't want to be spot dropping 100% of the time. You're going to get shredded. It's funny as like the times where I guess it's the older you get and you start learning more about football and the terms people use. Because when I was in high school, we called that country zone. Country zone. Yeah. And now when I get to media stuff on spot drop, I was like, oh wait, these mean the same exact thing.
Country zone. That's funny. I haven't heard that term in a while, but yeah,
right. But you if you run it all the time in the NFL, you will get shredded for sure. So it's got to be.
Rodgers shredded. The Dolphins try to run as a change up, and Rodgers shredded it for a seam route. Fun question. I like answer that question. So
maybe think about high school. Sorry, blank Keystore, can't say your name, but made me think of high school when we started realizing that if we just ran switch verticals, like these high school DBs would get so confused, and it takes 2 seconds to install. It just got to be burned into my brain. Trips right, 60 switch, touchdown every time.
60 switch verts. We would the play that we when I was with the Raiders got everybody, and it was switch verts, but we'd run a swing with it with the running back, and it would just out 2x2, and it would just bust the match rules all the time because the swing route would screw them all up. Well, I have to carry that, and then so you just create that little half second of hesitation, and oh my god, I was gas city. Not enough teams do it anymore. Actually, I've been curious about that. Most teams don't want to sit because you have to be kind of static to get to it. But yeah, closing it out today. That was a fun one. Charles and I will be back on Sunday to recap Week 15 with the 5th quarter. Maybe it's these 5 games. Well, Sunday night will be gone. So maybe it's these games. Maybe something else crops up on Sunday that's super interesting. You'll have to listen to find out. I'm Nate Tice. You can find me on social media at Nate_Tice on Twitter, and Nate Tice on Blue Sky. Charles, where can they find you?
You can find me on Blue Sky 4verts, Twitter 4verts, PlayStation Network 4verts.
You are PlayStation 4verts.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, there's a little a different like number or symbol in there, so you have to figure it out. But if you get on there and add me, I will not accept your friend request. So there you go.
Man of the people. My gamer tags are all I Wu-Tanged my name.
The old classic 360 gamer tags. Yeah.
Gamer tag, man. That showed my age. You said 360. How about OG Xbox? Bill Barnwell and I had a whole segment on talking about original Halo. the big old Xbox controllers that were the size of my laptop. I loved them because I have big hands, so they were great. And but the black and white buttons were at the bottom. That was they didn't do the.
My mom threw my Xbox controller out the window one time when I was grounded when I was playing when I wasn't supposed to. So I never got to play online really that much because I was just a malfeasance as a kid. But it's okay. Things haven't changed.
I never really got the video games taken away. I got other things. I usually got the bad looks. But subscribe to us, follow us, rate us 5 stars. If not, just yell at us on Twitter. I'm on Blue Sky anyways, whatever. But watch us on YouTube as well on the Yahoo Sports YouTube channel. Thanks to Brett and Stone behind the scenes. Thank you all for listening. Enjoy your weekend. Army Navy on Saturday as well. Right. Make sure to check that out. Thank you all for listening. See you guys on Sunday.